Hello, and welcome to episode 8 of Asian Battle Royale. If you didn't watch the last episode, you should definitely go do it, but basically all that happened was the Freedom Alliance got destroyed by these two alliances and got divided up amongst them. I think that was the only event that happened in that episode. With that, let's get right into it. We're going to be starting this episode off with Tibet, who has grown quite upset with their alliance who has basically not helped them out at all with their interests. Part of that is because they kind of want a lot of land that currently belongs to Kazakhstan, and so for that and a bunch of other reasons, they leave the Anti-Aggression Alliance. And this will kind of start a cascade of other countries who are unhappy with the Anti-Aggression Alliance beginning to leave it. That starts with Indonesia, and is shortly thereafter followed by Laos, Cambodia, and Myanmar. So if you thought the Anti-Aggression Alliance was just gonna win the war and then take over the entire Asia, no, they collapsed pretty quickly after the war. Another event that happens shortly after the biggest war in the series history, Pakistan will be invaded by the Arab Accords, and they basically just want to install a new pro-Arab Accords government in Pakistan. And the Pakistani government is very weakened from the last war. They also have restrictions on their army size and where they can place their army, and they have to pay back a lot of money, and in short, they never stood a chance. Kazakhstan will also take advantage of this opportunity, starting to invade into Pakistan, and Pakistan just never really stood a chance. And just like that, Pakistan is now a part of the Arab Accords, which probably at this point would change their name to the Islamic Accords, because they no longer just have Arabs in them. They also have parts of Georgia and Israel which weren't Muslim, but I think that they wouldn't care about that. Sri Lanka's new government was put in place by the AAA. However, the new government is not very stable and is pretty much universally hated among Sri Lankans. A new government will rise up in the north and declare its independence from Sri Lanka, but then Sri Lanka will try and not have that happen, and so rebellions will start happening in the south, and pretty quickly the entire island will rebel against that government and reinstall a new independent government. Then, out of nowhere, Thailand also decides to leave the AAA, and it's not clear why they're doing it until they announce that they are uniting with Laos, Cambodia to create the Southeast Asian Federation, which is basically meant to rival Vietnam economically, because Vietnam has just kind of taken off since they annexed half of China. And India is finally going to do something as they decide to invade into Sri Lanka, and this is not going to go very well for Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka's new government didn't really last as soon as they left the AAA, and this is going to lead to Tibet proposing a new alliance with India, which India will accept. This alliance will be in orange, and this will simply be called the Mutual Protection Alliance, or MPA, and it will pretty quickly be joined by the Southeast Asian Federation, as well as by Myanmar. Unlike those two, Indonesia is kind of disillusioned with the whole alliances thing. They got dragged into a war they didn't want to be a part of in the last episode, and they kind of just don't want to be part of an alliance anymore. But to end off this episode, we're going to end it off with a bang, because a massive rebellion is going to start to pop up in Georgia against the Iranian regime, followed by one in Syria against their own regime, which quickly spreads into Iraq. And these are basically just democratic revolutions. They want democracies put into their countries. Oman starts to experience a similar thing, as well as the UAE. And the UAE is the first to buckle, and they will overthrow their government and establish a new democratic government, after which they start aiding Oman in their civil war, and the Omani rebels start doing pretty well. Saudi Arabia then declares war on Oman, and it's at this point that Oman makes an agreement with the Mutual Protection Alliance to have them start invading into Pakistan to divert the attention away from Oman, as Oman basically falls to the rebels themselves. and starts trying to initiate a new rebellion in Yemen, which actually works pretty well, as most of Yemen, besides the populated parts, falls to another rebellion. Oman manages to start, or not Oman, the UAE starts to free themselves from Saudi Arabia as the Arab Accords start destroying India's invasion into Pakistan, almost getting all the way back to India. Then the MPA and the AAA make a mutual agreement to destroy the Arab Accords once and for all because they just see them as a source of instability. I mean, clearly look at the rebellions that are going on. And all of a sudden, the Arab Accords are kind of on the back foot as Yemen finally falls to the rebels and starts invading into Saudi Arabia. Seeing where things are going, the leader of Lebanon decides to officially withdraw from the Arab Accords, as well as the leader of Jordan. And things are about to come to a close because the Georgian rebels have just gotten Azerbaijan, as well as some northwestern Iranians, to join their side. Syria, the leader of Syria decides to flee outside of Asia, leading to Syria joining the rebellions. Unfortunately for the southern rebellions, Saudi Arabia actually somehow manages to start pushing them back because there were not really any rebellions coming from within their country, and they take advantage of the fact that large parts of all three of these countries still support the old regimes, and they're already starting to struggle. But Syria isn't, as Iraq is kind of crumbling from the outside in. Invasions of Iran and Pakistan by the Orange and Yellow alliances eroded trust in their regimes as Pakistan surrenders, and the Iranian regime is forced to flee out of their country because Tehran got taken and then no one else wants to accept them. So the rebels basically end up winning out there. Iraq is completely dismembered by the rebellions, and Saudi Arabia starts getting invaded from the north. This happens right around the time they finally dismantle Yemen, Oman, and the UAE. And they basically try to incorporate their armies into Saudi Arabia's own army, which goes terribly and makes Saudi Arabia basically guaranteed to lose this war eventually. Qatar is fully taken. These three countries finally find their footing to rebel again, and you'll see something interesting happens. But for now, Saudi Arabia is cooked, as the kids are saying, and is out. And there you have it. As soon as the Islamic Accords came into existence, they are out of existence once again. The Arab Accords actually stay in existence just as a new freedom, as a new democratic alliance. Saudi Arabia and Qatar are forced to merge into one country, specifically because the Arab Accords know they wouldn't like that. Iran is expelled from the Arab Accords and basically doesn't change anything except they lose Georgia. And so with that, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.